Today's date is February 3rd, 2025.
Yep.
My name is Jacob Stickle, and we're here for the Warren County Oral History Project. And we can go around the room.
I was born August 30, 1933 there at Rossburg.
All right. Would you mind starting off with your name?
Sylvan Goodwin Jr.
You want to add all your nicknames?
I don't know. And I was born there at the end of Rossburg Road in 1933. My dad worked for Uncle Henry there. Lived in that big house. My great-grandfather built that three-story house there on Rossburg, where Walker Road comes in one on Rossburg Road, Rossburg. There's a stop sign there. You're going toward Mara.
Yep.
Right there. If you go in that driveway, that's where I was born in 1933.
And your father built the whole thing, huh?
And then my dad got a job working for the highway, so he had to move out of there because Uncle Henry needed to get a right house so we moved to Plain in 1939.
1939, huh?
Lived there next to where Bruce lived. And then Mom and Dad lived there, and then that house come up for sale where Bruce lives, and I bought it.
Yep. And that must have been, when was that? What year?
1960.
1960 then.
And we was farming out that little garage there and stuff, and then we built them new buildings out behind. But I shared cropped everything out until Bruce got in when we started to cash renting ground. And it kept getting bigger. My dad made Bruce drive straight across the field too. We was planting. He had a great big hook on the road, end of the road.
Mm-hmm.
Dad said, "You just get them straightened up, or I'm going to come here and tear it all up and get planted again." And he's planted straight ever since then. He can drive straight across the field, even without the auto steer and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was your relationship with farming growing up?
Well, I worked for 4 years for Orrin Cheney when I was in high school, and he farmed, and he bought a hay baler off a fellow who got one was in the army. He had a preference after the war. He had a preference to buying the hay baler, so he bought it, and then he didn't want it. He sold it to Orrin Cheney. So every day it fit the bale in the summertime, we would bale hay.
That must have not been the most fun part of the whole.
On one day, most we ever baled in a day was 1,700 baling.
Oh, quite a few then.
Yeah, but then I worked at part-time there at Marfeed Supply there in Pleasant Plain, unloading coal off the coal cars and stuff, and driving. Their truck was delivering lumber out to houses being built and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For some part of the time, I was always busy working someplace.
Always hustling, right?
Yeah. But then we was farming, and we did that on the evenings and weekends till Bruce got big enough, and we got bigger and made a partnership, and he sold out to him when I turned 65. I sold out to him.
Must be nice to sell out to your son at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Car drove by. What was that story about getting a tractor in '51?
Well, Orrin Cheney, I was working for him in Wet Spring, and he said, "Hey, Junior, why don't you buy a tractor and cultivate my corn?" So the fellow that had the grocery store there in town, I borrowed $650 from him. Went over there where the Valley Vineyards are, that fellow sold used equipment. And I bought the VAC case there.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then I traded it for an SC case, and then a Oliver 70, and then 1955 brought a new Oliver 77.
All right. And what did your father use beforehand?
He didn't farm. He was raised on a farm. His dad farmed up there on 123 where was it great acres up there by what they call it.
It's where the firehouse is. New firehouse is up on 123.
He farmed a team of mules.
How big's a team of mules? 2, 4?
Just two mules. And his wife milked cows, and they separated the cream and hauled the cream to Manchester, the cream they sold it. And they had pigs they sold the other milk to. And he cut all his corn by hand.
Oh.
When my dad would go out there when he was off and husk it, underneath the shock of corn, he put back over the corn until he get a chance to go out there and haul it into the barn. And my other grandfather, he farmed all his life. And his son's one I stayed with most of the time. He married a girl from out here. He was a stubborn old guy, but they had I think 8 kids, and 4 of them died with cancer so far.
Goodness.
And he died, and he was a stubborn old man.
What made him so stubborn, if you don't mind me
He
asking?
didn't want nobody to tell him what to do or anything. But when he was going to school, he walked from or about a mile and a half out there to catch a bus there on 132 from over there where Cheney lived. And the bus driver said he was never late. Then he moved from there over to Mar, lived over there in Mar. He's going to start raising rabbits, and goddamn, he had rabbits every place.
With rabbits, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to rabbit shows all over the country.
Shows?
Yeah.
What would you do at a rabbit show?
Try to sell them.
Oh,
So-
referring to.
So breed, make them breed. They check them out and breed meat and stuff. I was with him when he bought his first farm.
How was it then? Exciting? Yeah.
That's when I went to work. I was in school then, didn't say one much. My grandfather was, they was baling hay over there on George Jones's. And they had a big barn there, and putting in the mile with a hay fork. He was on the wagon when the bale hit him on top of the head and knocked him off the wagon. He laid up for quite a while then.
That'll do it, yeah. Man. I suppose we never got to this, but when and where were you born?
Yeah. Moved to Pleasant Plain there in 1939. I started the school down there in Pleasant Plain that fall.
Were you born around here, or you said you moved here in '39?
Moved to Pleasant Plain 39 over there on Rossburg Road, at Walkerine Road where it comes out. That's where I was born.
Gotcha. How'd your family come to move here?
My great-grandfathers come from over in Virginia, the Goodwins. I don't know how the other Kips ever got here. I never did hear.
It's how family branches work, right? Just a little bit everywhere.
Yeah.
I know my family, the Stickles, usually end up every which way too. What would you say your parents were like?
Well, my mother was jealous as could be.
Jealous?
Yeah, my dad. He'd go up to the store there, and on the way to go there, she'd get mad as hell. Shotgun on the bed 3 or 4 times. I'd take it away from him.
Jeez. That bad, huh?
It was bad. But he lived. He's almost 94. My mother was 88 when she passed away.
So they never really got around to using the shotgun then. That's good.
No.
Good.
No. But then we got to getting bigger and bigger with the farm, and I sold out to Bruce, and my wife invested money, so we got some money that's going to get back to kids one of these days.
Oh, right. Eventually.
Yeah. It's already set up. When I die, it'll be given out to them. American Press, we've got invested with.
Gotcha. Would you mind describing Pleasant Plain while you were growing up? How was it then?
Well, my dad was a police chief there for several years. During the war, they had camp cars in there for the railroad. Used to be two lines go up through there.
Oh.
2 passenger trains. I had to bid when I was in high school at 6:30 in the morning, catch the mail off the train going westbound on there to take to the post office. I had to bid on that job.
Mm.
And then there was a National Limited come up at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they throw a bag out at the crossing there. And they had another hook up here on a stand that they hooked the bag, and they shored the mail on the front train as you're going through the country. My Bruce's grandmother, her brother-in-law was sword writing on the mail on the train going from Cincinnati to Pittsburgh.
Mm.
He ended up living in Pittsburgh. But used to be able to get on a train there and Pleasant Plain and drive to Blanchester for a quarter.
That's a pretty good price, all right.
Then during the war, they brought a bunch of Mexicans in there and worked on the railroad tracks.
Mm.
And then all the women around there were getting knocked up with Mexicans. But
Would you say it's grown quite substantially, or has it changed much?
Nobody saw any ground around it.
Mm.
There's only been 4 houses built just since over there in that town.
Mm.
One up there at Thurings, one down there, 2 down there, one for the church, and then Billy Kenner's house.
Hmm. Really not a lot though.
No, it's the same as it was when I was growing up there.
Kind of nice. You always hear about the county and just how Mason's blown up, how Lebanon itself has been blowing up pretty well too. But
no, the reason we got the post office there, the railroad come through there.
mm-hmm.
And Butlerville didn't want it. That's how we got the Pleasant Plain post office there in Butlerville. Was in mail routes at Butlerville, and Pleasant Plain it says Butlerville. Yeah.
Hmm. When you were a child, did you want to do what your father did, highway work, to working with them?
I just I needed a job, so yeah.
Did you want to do anything in particular, like anything that you dreamed, that job that you wanted to do growing up?
No.
No?
Only farm, and that's the only thing I did when I was growing up, farming. You know. But I needed a job, and I plowed snow for 31 winters.
Jeez. I mean, have you seen this past snow recently? Do you think you could have done that?
I would have, but
Ooh. You mentioned where you went to school, but how was it like for you? You ever do?
There, Pleasant Plain was one teacher for 4 grades. Then on the 5th grade, they brought us back there because there wasn't many students there, so we had to come back to Pleasant Plain on the 5th grade. And then from there we went to Goshen.
Oh, okay.
We graduated from Goshen.
Oh.
My mother also graduated from Goshen in 1926. I graduated in 51, and Bruce graduated in 77.
Same place?
Yep.
All right.
Now that old schoolhouse is gone.
I get it. My old school recently got torn down too, but that's up north.
Yeah.
It's a weird feeling. Were there any lifelong hobbies or habits you've picked up along the way?
I tried to play golf but wasn't very good at it.
Golf's tough.
Played softball in younger years.
How has the world changed from when you were young?
Yeah. Hell of a lot different.
Anything you'd like to highlight? Anything interesting that you've...
Young kids today don't want to work. Back in my day, kids all worked.
Interesting. I feel like I've heard that same sentiment before too, with a different guy. Do you think there's a solution for it?
Quit government giving all the free money out. Hell yes,
Okay.
all the welfare and stuff.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
What do you think is how do you think made the big difference from back when you were growing up till now? Was it just that?
Oh yeah. We didn't have no dope or anything around back in the day.
Oh. Fair enough.
You couldn't go out and drink and stuff. We in Pleasant Plain, we had two bars there. One time we had a building supply place there, 2 bars, 2 grocery stores, farm equipment place.
Not surprised there was 2.
Yep.
Wouldn't have seen the point of having 2 grocery stores if you just had them.
Yeah.
What'd you do after your childhood for work, education? What'd you get to?
I just graduated from high school though.
And you always did work via the highway, or did you go somewhere else afterwards?
I just picked up around the farmers and stuff.
Mostly share.
I retired from the highway in 1982.
82? Did you do anything afterwards?
Worked in the farm.
Oh, just sharecropping?
Just worked for Bruce.
Oh, I suppose you would. Oh, how was that working with the 2 of you guys? My father and I, we do house painting a lot, and of course there's a little bit of arguing about what he's done versus...
We never argued about anything.
Huh? You don't have to hash out anything in front of us. That's okay. In front of me.
We got along good all the time.
Well, that's good to hear.
We moved there where Bruce was in 1960. When I first got married, lived in Blanchester. And Bruce was born in Blanchester, and then a house come up for sale, and that's the only house Bruce lived in outside of where he was born in Blanchester.
I'd say it's pretty nice. How did you meet your spouse?
We were roller skating in the rolling alley, and finally got around and asked her out for a date. And she was healthy bad, so that's the way she passed away. After 4 kids.
That's nice. I'm sorry to hear that. What would the average day be for you compared to when you worked? How's your average day now?
We get up about 7 o'clock or 8. Eat my breakfast, and I used to go up the farm all the time, but I don't do that anymore. I just sit in this chair.
Not a bad chair.
You know, it stands me right up. I want to stand up.
Oh, we have that one. That's a good type of chair.
Stand me straight up.
It takes a while, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad.
Hazel bought this, one of them out of the magazines. He bought it. When the guy brought it here, he stopped and got some gas for his car, and he had grease all over his shoes. He come in the door, and grease spots on the floor there where he come in the house. He brought it in there in 2 pieces and set it up there and hooked it up. I've been there ever since.
I would have thought that thing's heavier and all get out, right?
You know, he brought the bottom in, then but the back just come in and sets on 2 pins back there.
Not bad. Not bad.
It's got vibrate and everything in it.
It better. I mean, with all that, right? All right. So if you get bored of sitting, you can vibrate a little. So back when you used to farm, what was your day to day? What would be the first thing you do when you got up?
Well, I was working the highway when we farming.
Oh, so you do the highway stuff first, and go home, and then do the farm?
The evening and weekends.
Evening and weekends?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it kept getting a little bigger all the time.
Sure.
What was it? Case rented out there. No, sharecropped out there. Old Ed McHenry, that first place was sharecropping. He'd go out there and take out a case out to him, and he had a whole stack of case there in the house.
How did your work change through the years? You mentioned briefly where you're working for the highway, and then you're doing the farm, then you switched to the farm.
Well, you know, today all the tractors got a lot of steer on them, and combines and everything. Got cabs on with air conditioning. But, you know, back when I had my old first combine, and sat out in the dirt when you combine, the dust coming out of your face. Of course, 4 or 5 combines I had was that way.
Had to throw a mask on or scarf or something.
Never wore no mask.
Mm.
No mask.
It would have painted the butt if it was flying in your face then.
Bruce did a lot of it too.
Tell you about the wet fall, 65.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Larry Moorfield bought a 1650 tractor.
Mm-hmm.
We had no Alshon 4-type combine. And we have 2 tractors on the front of that old combine, and he'll come, we'll go around the field, and you get 4 or 5 rows, and then it'd get too wet, you couldn't go anymore, and it'll dry over a day or so, then you can get another 2 or 3 rounds on it.
Mm.
We had an old truck there and filled it up with soybeans, and coming out across out of concrete bridge there, and the old thing went through the bridge, and my dad was in the truck. We had to climb it up to get him out of there.
Ooh. So you're saying he was stuck there, huh?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And we hauled we didn't have no bins to put our grain in. We had to take everything to Blanchester.
Mm.
Now there ain't no place up in Blanchester buys any grain. So everybody had to get semis and stuff to haul to the river, get rid of the grain.
Oh. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Man. You mentioned earlier that there's a camera you have on the calves you can see whenever they give birth now. What else has changed in livestock even?
Oh, that's the biggest thing. Artificial breeding, changing out, and honestly, there's cattle.
Oh, nice.
There's a guy up there scraping the lock down with a skid steer.
Gotcha. Oh Lord, to see for me, but I gotcha. Looks like you can keep an eye on them too if you wanted to.
There's one that had her calf this morning.
Looks like you still have eyes on the farm too.
He got it on his iPad. He was up to his son-in-law's dad just died up in Wisconsin.
Mm.
They was up there all weekend for his funeral and stuff. And they had the iPad with them and watching all the time they was up there.
Yep. Did you have anybody watch your farm at that point? I'm curiosity.
Yep. We got employees that watch the farm, and then we on our way up there on Thursday we had a cow having a calf. She's having some trouble, and so I had a neighbor on standby. He came over and helped deliver the calf.
They used to dairy farm all the time, so they know how to handle the birth of the calves and stuff.
Oh yeah. I remember talking to the Steiners, and they talked about the differences in technology from early on till later.
Yeah.
How was milking and dealing with calves and cattle at that point from when you were starting till about now?
If they wasn't selling milk, they took the calf away from the cow right away and fed her with a bottle. And that way they sell the milk from the cow. And none of them dairy around anymore. Used to be several more in county than none anymore.
How about how about the technological differences between the two, between when you started versus now?
Oh, hell.
Yeah.
Well, when I started out, we bought all used old junk equipment and put it together and fixed it up. And back in those days, you plowed everything. Now everything just about no-till. We didn't have the equipment to no-till in those days.
Oh, okay. You just had to make do with what you had, huh?
Like Bruce, he sows cover crop on his ground, and that way it's not washed away, and he no-tills right in that cover crop. Gets a good crop. That's a lot of difference from back in the farming time. Yeah.
Interesting. That makes a bit of a difference then. How has your family changed throughout the years? I remember I was looking up a couple articles here and there to see how everybody was situated, so I can ask more pointed questions. I found a brief bit in the Wilmington Journal talking about a large family reunion you guys had.
Yep.
In the 80s, I think it said.
Yeah, we still do.
Still do? That's fantastic. How big's the family reunion for you guys?
If everybody would come, we'd have 400.
Oh, jeez.
But you end up 40, 50 normal. Right?
Yeah.
40, 50?
We have, on both sides of the family, we have a reunion.
That could be a bit tiresome too if it's on both sides.
Last Sunday in July and the third Sunday in August, we do a reunion. And up at Bruce's farm where you got a pond back there and got a shelter.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice to have it all over there.
Yeah.
How's dealing with contacts and all that? I imagine there's going to be a lot of mail flying, a lot of emails flying.
Emails and stuff anymore. Yeah.
Must be a bit of a pain, but that's really nice that you can get 40, 50 still really good. How long have you guys been doing it?
A long time. It was a long time. It was done someplace else. The Goodwin was, and then I don't know when we brought back down here to start that up here. Do you remember, Bruce?
No, I don't. Probably 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. And then later on we started Kipling. Yeah. And keep track of the births and deaths and everything. And I talked to Parker last night. I called him. He sounds like he's getting ready to go back up with. He said he'd be back in a couple of weeks or so.
I know this is a pretty generic question, but what significant events happened occurring to your lifetime that you would say had an impact on you?
Losing my first wife and then getting remarried again and stuff. Yeah.
That would definitely have.
Big, yeah.
That'll definitely have an impact.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to mention? It's up to you.
Not really.
Fair enough.
I'm just ready to die now.
Oh.
Whenever my time comes, I'm ready.
Oh. What would you say has been the greatest challenge in your life?
Surviving.
Surviving in general?
Yeah.
You got a fantastic chair to help out, though.
Oh, yeah. I got drafted to the service.
Did you? When was that?
56.
56. Korea, then?
No.
Wait.
Between the two wars.
Oh. You said drafted, it made me think. What'd you end up doing?
They put me in the Navy and put me in the Seabees because I was an operator.
Oh. You said.
And then we went to Kwajalein over in the Marshall Islands and
Oh.
worked 130 every day. We come back to a boat back to Fort Hueneme, California for the winter, and then we all come home for the winter and went back after and
Okay.
stayed in California till April, and we were on the boat up to Adak, Alaska.
Oh.
And that's when they decided they actually drafted in and didn't want to do with us, so they let us out in 19 months.
Out of 19 months, that's how long you stayed? Well, you should get a nice ride out of it, right?
Yeah. I'm a veteran now, anyhow.
Mm. How was the... Well, it must not have been fun. I mean, you got a chance to come back every winter, you said, right? Or is it just all land?
Yeah, we got to come back to California.
Oh, I see.
Fort Hueneme is up north of that way, way down in St. I got out of there on the 4th of July of 1956.
That must have been a nice fireworks to see, over by California.
We got on a bus, went up to Treasure Island. We were there for 5 days, and then they got us on the plane, went over to Hawaii, and got off the plane over there, and what we did there for 7 or 8 days, we drank beer, run out of, tried to advance on a pay so we could keep it alive. And they just went down to check the airport, and they never put it down to go on out. The next day we flew to Kwajalein.
Oh.
And over there, they put me in when I first got there. They building houses for civilians over there. We was putting roofs on for 2 weeks, and then after that I had to go to mess duty.
Oh. Was this all after being after the 19 months, or is this?
No, that's when it ended.
That's when it was ending. Okay.
When I was in the service, yeah.
What were you doing initially?
We just over there, we got our mess duty in over there.
Mm.
When you catch up with that outfit, 6 months you go mess duty.
Gotcha.
And then you don't have to do it anymore.
You just get it out of the way, then.
And when we went up to Alaska, we was in the stone quarry up there.
Oh.
Had crusher run.
Oh, and I thought that would have been the work that they would have put you to. That's a little surprising. Huh. How was actually getting out? How was that?
That's good.
Tired of it?
2 months after I got out, I got married. Then a year later, Bruce come around.
So you were the firstborn, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm the oldest.
That'll be it.
You got three sisters.
Speaking of firstborns and having children, what was some of your fondest memories?
Sitting up there at the hospital for 25 hours so she could push him out.
25 hours.
Yeah.
Can't
And
imagine.
you couldn't go in, back in them days, you couldn't go in the room with him.
Oh yeah, that is. So you were just out in the hallway, huh?
Yeah, that Clinton Memorial Hospital.
Hmm. That's
Then he's born 5 minutes after 12 on the 13th of December. Instead of giving it to 12th, he put an old doc put it on the 13th, so he's Friday the 13th kid.
Are there other fond memories you'd like to touch on?
Since Haven and I got married, we're going to travel.
All right. Where to?
We went on 2 river cruises over in Europe. Went to Holland. The second one was we got inside of a windmill they lived in.
Mm-hmm.
Seen that, and then we seen that wall they put up to keep the North Sea out.
Yeah.
We got to go down in underneath there and see how it works.
Oh. Oh wow.
Then we got on a boat and go down these rivers and stop these little towns and take a tour of the town and tell you stuff, and then you back on the boat. We ate and slept on the boat and everything. Good food, all you wanted to eat.
Good.
And the second one, we went on the canal in Germany over there, where they had to lower the thing on the boat to get under the bridges.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And then we went through Panama Canal on the catamaran.
Oh, that must have been really interesting. What time was what time frame was all this?
Oh, after 90.
After 90?
She retired in 90. That's when we started traveling. Then we went across Canada on the train from all the way across Canada on the train.
That would have been nice. That would have been nice. You must have had a good book too. Long train ride.
They fed us pretty good.
They better have if you're going to be on that for a while.
In Australia.
Yeah, 3 times been to Australia.
Holy cow. Jeez. Where in Australia?
All over.
All over? Sydney Opera House, out on the outback, all that? The coral reefs would have been real nice too.
This is salute, Australia's salute.
Really? Feels a
Bugs-
little...
Bugs out of your face.
I was going to say it's a little lazy if they're saluting, but no, that makes a little more sense now.
But we went to, first time we got there, we went out to a steak dinner at this ranch. We went to this gate out there, and this fellow telling us these cows will walk 10 miles to get something to eat or to get drink.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a gate there. When they want to catch them, they turn the gate around so they can't get out. So after 4 or 5 days, they got them all around in that area. And that way they can gather them up with 4-wheelers.
4-wheelers, huh? I mean, if it's a 10-mile radius, you're going to have to use everything you can.
Well, they go back to water and stuff, you know. That's the way they have to go. They all go, remember. I couldn't hardly believe it. That's what he said there. I had it on recording on tape.
Man. Any dogs or anything to help, or just them on their four-wheelers?
Just the forward.
All right.
We went to Tasmania one time.
See any devils?
Yep. We had one in the pen there.
Oh. Huh, all right.
Little black thing, about that big around.
Not large at all. I thought they would have been bigger than a skunk, you know?
Kangaroos out there, you walk around out feeding them and stuff.
Some of them look a little scary whenever you see them on tape. They're just muscular little things, aren't they?
We stayed this farms over this one trip.
Mm.
We stayed this one. The lady asked if we wanted to see some kangaroos, and I said, yeah. She got us in a uke. That's a pickup truck over there.
Oh.
There's four of us in this pickup, crushed in it, go up in the field. There's a kangaroo running around in there. They're sitting there looking at, what the hell you guys doing up here? Yeah.
So didn't quite appreciate the company then. Now, were they raising them, or were they just wild there?
They're just wild.
Mm. I don't know what you would raise them for at all, honestly.
I think they eat some of them over there.
Oh. I didn't know they would do that.
Then some of the native people lived there, Aborigines.
Mm.
They talk about them when they give birth. The mother has to climb up over this great big mountain and stuff and come down on the ledge up there to give birth. That's what they said they had to do when they give birth, these Aborigines.
By a ledge? Huh.
Natives, yeah.
Huh. No, I didn't quite know about that. Where else have you been to around the world?
That's far enough.
That's far enough?
Yeah.
You didn't go to New Zealand after Tasmania?
We went to New Zealand, yeah, when we was over there.
Mm.
But we went to Alaska trip.
Must have been a great deal better than when you were in the Navy.
Well, this was a trip that's out of the Navy.
Mm. Mm-hmm. How was that Alaska trip coming back?
It was good.
Good.
we bussed over this state with young college girls driving these double buses, bends in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Went down the Yukon River on a boat. And Johnny got stopped up on the going down the river. And when we got off down there, and we had one outhouse, and women went to the outhouse, and us guys went to the woods. Went through the village of Chicken up there in Alaska.
Oh.
But rode a semi here traveling up New York. Semis.
That would have been a big difference from here, New York.
Yeah, from the company there in Pleasant Plain, Shirley's Warfield's company.
Oh.
We drove pick up. We needed an extra driver. I drove for them.
Mm-hmm. I always try to get her to try to talk. I'm trying to talk to her next. Do you have any particular stories your family has passed down that you like to talk about?
Not really.
What would you say you're most proud of?
Proud of being alive.
Okay.
Raised in a family that took care of themselves.
That's what you can ask for, right?
Yep.
Mm. Who was the greatest influence you've had as a child or as an adult?
I don't know. Just working. That's all I did was work.
Anybody in particular, like your father or somebody else who had mentored you?
I had to train a lot of people in the state, different stuff, driving trucks and stuff.
Mm.
And Hazel and I, we've had a pretty good life together too. She has 2 kids, a girl and a boy.
Mm.
The girl's 2 weeks older than Bruce, I think.
Hmm.
And the boy's younger than the rest of my kids. Well, it was rough when, like, some girls had to change schools when I got married, hated when I got married. They didn't like it, but they got over it.
Mm. How has your life turned out differently than you imagined?
I don't know, I didn't. Well, I used to go out to Minnesota and help harvest out there too in summertime.
Oh.
That's all going out there now. I got one cousin out there yet, I guess.
Mm. Were you expecting to do more work out there when you were growing up, or?
No, that's where my first wife's relative was.
Ah. Gotcha.
Bruce was out there. He was 2 years old, I think. And the 2 uncles out there, he was riding with them and he's stuttering. They really gave him a tough time about stuttering.
What advice would you give to anybody listening in?
Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself.
Mm. Is there anything you'd like to add that we haven't already talked about?
Not really.
Okay.
Soon be 92 years old.
That's pretty good. That's a lot better than I'm doing, so you got me beat so far. I don't think I had a great grandfather who was 91 but yeah, made it pretty far. I mean, better than my grandparents, so.
My grandpa on my dad's side, he chewed tobacco and never spit.
Hmm? Huh.
One that had the mules, he never did spit.
Didn't know the deal with any of that. Okay.
My other grandpa, he pulled mail pouch, tobacco he chewed.
Hmm.
And I went with him and Dad to cut logs one day, and I stayed in the car and they got sick. And when it finally floated up, they seen why I got sick. I got that tobacco.
Oh.
My dad had a dump truck and I fell out of it twice, going around the curve.
Ooh. Twice? Same day?
No. Once right on my face, filled with rock. They'd gone to run trout lines up in Cod Fork, and we went up and run trout lines, and they got back there to Rossburg and called the doctor. He came over and picked the rest of the stones out of my face.
Oof.
The other time went off the Stub Mill Bridge there, going out there towards South Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
The door flew open, I went out the truck there.
Oof. Goofing off, or why'd you fall off the truck there?
After that, he put a dead knock on the door so it wouldn't go open.
Mm.
One of the bolts on it, so he could bolt it shut.
Well, I guess the next time we'll feel free to add anything more, but I'm going to turn over here to Bruce too.
Go ahead.
We already touched on it a little bit here. I don't have to touch on what were your parents like. I don't want to make you do that. Would you like to describe how the community was when you were growing up?
Small community. There were a lot of kids in town at that time. Boys all got together and did the sport of the season. There's a basketball court down where the schoolhouse was, and all it took was one guy go down there, start dribbling a basketball, and it echoed off the building, come through the town, and before long there'd be a game going on. fall of the year, we all got together every Sunday and had a big football game.
All right.
In the springtime, we played baseball. You didn't have enough people to put a full outfield in. You just closed off left field or right field or whatever. Just had one outfielder and an infielder and played baseball with whoever would be there. I mean, that was like in town growing up. You know, there's a bunch of kids, and the older kids would always look after the younger kids, and it was fun. Wasn't no video games or anything at that time. You'd go out, you'd outside playing, ride bikes. And
no television.
no television to speak of, and pop bottles were 2 cents a piece. So you'd take your bicycle and ride around the roads and look for pop bottles and collect pop bottles to take to the store. And
get your coat candy.
2 cents, you could still buy candy for 2 cents. You get 3 pop bottles, you could buy a nickel candy bar. It costs $1 now or more. Okay, but growing up in town, that's what it was like. It was fun. School bus would come, and the guys would stand up, and the girls would take the seats, and because there weren't enough seats for all the kids. But Pleasant Plains is Goshen School District, so Warren County town goes to Goshen for school there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what it was like growing up. It's fun.
Nice, pretty small, more intimate.
He worked for Warren Cheney too.
Did you? Oh man. Is that what you wanted to do when you were a child? Be a farmer, or did you have anything else in mind?
Oh shit, I was going to be a basketball player, and I was going to be a professional baseball player, and I was going to be a professional football player. You got all kinds of dreams when you're a kid.
Oh yeah.
I had a college coach when I was a junior in high school, came and interested in having me come to college to run track for him. And then my senior year I got hurt, and that was the end of the scholarship offers for track and field. So I ended up had a teacher at Goshen who had graduated from Wilmington College, and he took me up to Wilmington College. If you wanted to take ag in the state of Ohio, you had a choice of 2 4-year schools. You either had to go to Ohio State or Wilmington College. And I could commute at Wilmington College and stay at home, and started there in the fall of 1977, and got married in December of 1978, and commuted back and forth.
Pretty quick. Is that where you met your wife?
I met my wife. We were high school sweethearts. We started dating when we were sophomores in high school.
That's nice. My parents are high school sweethearts too.
So that was that's how I knew my wife. She couldn't get used to the farm life. Took me a long time. Took about 10 or 15 years before she quit asking me to get a real job.
Yeah.
Why did you not think it was a real job?
Because I didn't have a paycheck every Friday.
Oh.
Okay, you get paid. You're farming. You get paid once a year.
Oh,
you got to make it last.
Yep.
She just got used to it though. She doesn't bitch about that anymore.
My father was doing house painting work. He did it for his dad, so he was always the last one to get paid because they didn't want to show any favoritism, and he wanted to give my grandfather wanted to make sure that everybody else got paid first. So my mom was a little mad about that herself.
Yeah. But I grew up when they were farming. I'd ride the fender of the tractor. I got a little older. Grandpa went to cultivate. I had to ride the fender of the tractor with him to keep him go to sleep after lunch in the summertime. Because he'd go fall asleep and plow out 4 rows at a time. Started driving a tractor and planting when I was a freshman in high school.
Pretty early.
So, was planting the same field a year ago. Come to me that I first started planting in that field was 50 years. So,
every bump in the road, huh?
So,
every part of the field.
You didn't see his elbow?
Your elbow?
I broke my elbow when I was in 3rd grade.
Oh.
The doctor said he could operate, put every bone back in place, but he wouldn't guarantee I'd move it. So they set it and Put it in the cast in 2 weeks, and I started bending it, and that's how far I could bend it before it got stiff. That's a different time. Today they'd operate on it and put everything back and make sure you could move it. But this was
his
in
daughter
the 60s.
would do it. His daughter's an orthopedic surgeon.
Oh.
So, but then when I went to Wilmington College, I had a $500 scholarship from Goshen. And Southern State College was brand new at the time. And they were offering classes at Wilmington College. So the first year of college, I actually went to Southern State and took all my classes at Wilmington College, so they couldn't deny my transfer when I was a sophomore and transferred to Wilmington to take ag the last 3 years. So I got all my basic education done my freshman year, took all my math and English and stuff. Driving back and forth, commuting, trying to get all your classes on either Tuesday or Thursday or Monday, Wednesday or Friday. At that time, Wilmington was on semesters.
Okay.
Maybe it was. Maybe they was on quarters. Hell, it's been a long time ago. But my mom made me promise I'd go to college, so that's what I did. Growing up in high school, she was sick. She ended up having emphysema and had a hard time breathing. But she was living to see me graduate high school, and she got to do that.
Lived to see him graduate. She was taking 5 of those big oxygen bottles a week.
5 of them a week? Yeah, Lord.
They didn't have machines like they are today.
But that was a different time.
She hung on to him. She saw him graduate.
Good. I think that's really important too. There we are. There we are. Sorry, I was just in the camera there. I looked over and couldn't see anybody's face.
Okay.
But that's very unfortunate.
Graduated college in '81. My dad and grandfather took me into farm partnership then. That's when Goodwin's farm started. Grandfather was a big influence growing up. He had a very strong personality, strong sense of what was right and wrong. And had a lot of stories.
We still talk about the stories he tells about.
But bought our first farm in 1982, and we give $1,300 an acre for it. And the same farm that my grandfather could have bought back in the 1930s, and he could have bought the whole farm for $2,500, and here we bought 92 acres for $1,300 an acre.
Yeah.
Gee, thanks.
And he didn't buy it because he's afraid he couldn't make it.
That's right. Back in those days.
But that's
yeah, that would be a little scarier.
But that, at that time I was out of college. We was getting bigger farming. Took over basically the bookwork and stuff of the business, and we changed us from doing basically all sharecropping to doing cash rent. And the farm grew then. By taking more risk, we did better.
He took on the dig dealership with Pioneer.
I got Pioneer guy retired in the neighborhood, and I took on the Pioneer Seed dealership in 1985. And that was that's been a big deal for me over the years, selling seed. A story that we was planting a farm by Blanchester in 1982, and at that time we always quit at lunchtime and came in to eat lunch. And we'd come across the field and had a new 8-row planter we was planting with, so we was getting more done with it. And come time to quit for lunch, we had about 10 acres in the field, and I got in the truck with my grandfather and made a comment I wish the hell I never said. But I said, if we get any kind of weather, Grandpa, this field's going to make 180 bushel an acre. And he'd shoot my ass out. from up by Blanchester all the way home about me counting my chickens before they're hatched, and he'd never raised that much corn, and how I was an educated idiot because I went to college, and all that talk, educated idiot, stopped that fall because we shelled that corn and hauled it straight to town, and it made 182 bushel acre dry corn. So that's when my dad and my grandfather started listening to me a lot more.
There we go.
But that was, since then we started farming more ground all the time, and building buildings and getting bigger equipment and buying farms. My grandfather passed away in 1994.
94.
And he left his share of the partnership to my dad and I.
Man.
And then my dad retired or whatever in 1998 when I bought him out. He gave me good favorable terms and ended up paying him off. Supposed to have been 10 years, but it ended up being 11. I paid interest 1 year because I couldn't make the principal.
Mm. They give you pretty lenient, right?
He's gonna get it all back.
And since then, when he retired, Dad come up and he worked for me, and he is kind of like a partner. He wasn't like an employee, and kept it that way till today. He asked me what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and talked to him about when we're busy about every day what we're doing, what we're going to do tomorrow.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you, until I got out of the hospital last time, I could go up every day, sit up there in the barn, take my lunch most of the days.
But no, farming's been a good life for me. Raised my kids.
Go with Daryl on the road trips and stuff.
I grew up in town. The house I live in now, we didn't have any livestock, but we bought the dairy farm at Blackhawk from Earl Gorsuch in 1992.
Ah, okay.
And we bought that because he sold out in the dairy buyout in 1982, and he had to dairy couldn't start there for 10 years, so he kept ownership of it to make sure it wasn't a dairy startup till 92, and he sold the farm to me. And that's when my oldest daughter got old enough to be in 4-H, and that's when we started buying cattle. That's when we got in the cattle business.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and the cattle business has grown since then. We started raising our own calves for the kids to show at the fair, and all the kids end up with a pretty big nest egg from all the generous buyers from their fair projects at the fair, and they all had a pretty good nest egg when they went to college.
There we go.
So, made a deal with my kids. I'd pay half their education in college, and that's what we did. They paid for the other half, and I wanted them to have some skin in the game because I had too many friends who had kids that partied out of college.
Yeah.
And they've all turned out very good. 3 girls. Wendy's now 40. She's an orthopedic surgeon at Children's. Jennifer's 37. She's a nurse at Children's. And Violet's youngest. She's 10 years younger than Wendy. She just turned 30. And she's got a degree at Purdue from biological engineering, and she works for Sam Adams now.
All right.
Married, and she's expecting in June. And
That was her father-in-law just died.
And middle daughter has 2 boys in 7th and 4th grade, and my oldest daughter, Wendy, has 4 boys.
Goodness.
And
made it for all the.
They're are they 3rd, 2nd? Twins are 2nd grader, and then their baby's going to be 4 in April. And then Violet won't tell us, we won't find out what her baby's going to be, so we'll find out in June if we have a daughter. But we had 3 girls and we've had 6 grandsons, so you got to be careful what you pray for.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Goodness. It's funny how all that turns out, right?
So you don't know how it's going to turn out, life's like a deck of cards. You don't know which card's going to turn up next.
Yeah.
You go for the ride. Make your best for your opportunities. You just don't know what they're going to be.
That's right. Any lifelong hobbies or habits you've picked up throughout the years?
Well, I like to play basketball, or I did. Now I like to watch basketball.
Fair enough.
Because his farm was always a slow season in wintertime.
He's big job now is going to the grandkids.
Now I try to go to my grandkids' basketball games,
Soccer
games, and baseball games, and they're involved with all of them now. So I coach my kids. I coach basketball, youth basketball, and I coached junior high basketball at Goshen for 10 years.
Alright.
Coached one season of JV high school girls basketball. Coach quit, and I didn't get the high school job, which ended up being a blessing. So,
Yeah.
But have a lot of kids that played for me come up and say hi at the games and stuff. That's always fun.
Yeah, seeing old kids.
Yeah. Try to teach them more than just basketball. Try to teach them life.
Yeah. That's how it always felt like when I did Boy Scouts growing up. My dad was involved.
Got involved with the Soil and Water Conservation District. We bought the first farm in '82 and '84. We had some waterways put in on it, and it had 2 fields in front, pattern field tile. Cost a bunch of money, but it was been well worth it.
I feel like you probably would have seen the most dividends since this was 82, 84, around that time.
84 was when it put in, and tile takes a few years to start working good, and it works good. We moved our Pioneer Test Plus up there, and we've had them there at that same farm ever since. Lane going through the middle of the farm back to the farmhouse, and we flip each side of the lane, 1 corn and 1 beans every year. Got elected to the Soil and Water Board in 1995.
95. What does that mean for you? What do you do?
I really, up until then, we'd go to the Farm Service Agency and went to the Soil and Water for help with the waterways, and I always thought Soil and Water people with the district and with the way the funding was with the feds and the state and the local people coming together, I always thought they had the best interest at heart for the farmers.
Right.
And I thought that would be an organization I'd like to get involved in. We had a neighbor who'd been a supervisor for 30 years, and it was time for him. He's wanting to get out. His business had taken off, and he didn't really have time for the soil and water anymore. And I ran and took his place.
Larry Moorfield, that was.
Oh yeah, he comes up often in all the old pictures.
And that's when I got on. Vince Utrig and Tom Spellmeyer and Mark Steiner and Marion Chase were the ones on the board when I got on. Took me in and treated me good. Taught me well. We had a very good staff. At that time, Dave McElroy was the director, and it was had a little office down there on Columbus Avenue next to the same building as Farm Service office was, and our office grew. I was there at the time when it was growing. Heard all the growing pains, some of the problems they had with funding and stuff back in the 60s.
Yeah.
But I've been fortunate enough to be on the Soil and Water Board where funding basically has not been a problem for us. Our commissioners, we do things for them and they take care of us. State fundings went up and down over the years, but it's always welcome. And the federal people coming in to help pay for the stuff we put on farmers' ground is really the meat and bones behind. Gives us leverage for money to get farmers to coincide. Big emphasis is changed from erosion when I first started. All the emphasis on stopping erosion, and then interest changed to more about water, soil and water, and more emphasis on cleaning up the streams and the waterways in the state. And I think we've done a good job with that. More emphasis now on soil health, and been very, I've took up a bunch of those practices, learned well from Tom Spellmeyer on cover crop. God bless his soul. Mm-hmm. And we started no-till farming, I think, in 1985. Story, 1984, I planted my first field of no-till, and 84 was a bad spring. Oh. And we finished planting our corn, and the rain was coming. I hurried up and switched the planter over, and I planted 7 acres of soybeans no-till. Of course, it wasn't next to the road. I didn't want any neighbors to see. Mm-hmm. And 30-inch row soybeans no-till, and it got them planted. It rained. It rained for like it does. We was out for 3 weeks, and we went back to the same farm, and the field next to it we was working, and Dad was working ahead of me, working the ground. And he wanted to know if I wanted him to go in there and tear this field of beans up. I went in there and no-tilled. They don't coming up. They look like crap, and he's going to work it up. And I told him, stay the hell out of that field. They're going to be fine. It pissed him off, and he took the tractor up about 2 gears and worked the ground a little faster.
Sure.
That fall we cut the beans, and the field we was working and planting. I think that time the beans was a good crop of beans that year. I think they was making 48 bushel an acre at that time. Was really good. But we cut the field of no-till beans. I planted 3 weeks before no-tilled, and they made 53, I think, at that time. And that's when we started no-till. And then we bought the no-till planter in '85 and started doing a lot more no-till planting in '85. And we no-tilled then every chance we got. You get a wet fall, you'd track the ground up and have to work it. Mm-hmm. But there's something missing with the no-till. You no-till for a few years, you build a thatch up or on the ground. In springtime you call it trash, in the summertime you call it residue. It's all that layer of residue or trash on top of the ground that hold the moisture and keep it too wet to farm in the spring, and then be wet and slick in the fall. It push at the header and stuff with a combine, and the cover crop is taking care of that thatch. That makes that stuff doesn't lay on top anymore. It gets incorporated into the soil a lot better. And herbicides we go in and a lot of times we plant our soybeans and corn both green. We don't kill the cover till we plant. And
that made a lot of difference, the chemicals.
The chemicals we can use kill the weeds, and you're doing that, you're planting, and you look in the mirror on that planter, look back, and what the hell am I doing, But it seems like it turns out all right, and we'll keep doing it that way because we're having good luck with it. Our yields have been going up steady over the years, and we've had 2 years in a row where our corn whole farm average has been over 250, and we had a bean yield a couple years ago, 96 bushel acre. So we're you learn as you go, and but our farming, big difference is you got a field of no-till, and you got a guy neighbor next door that's worked his ground, and you're farming side by side, and you catch a big rain in the spring, and you drive down the road and you see the chocolate Kool-Aid running off his farm, and the water coming off where you no-tilled in the cover crop. The water's just as clean, just like you could put a cup down and drink it. I mean, there's a big difference, and all that chocolate water's fertility and soil and everything else leaving. I'm not saying there's no fertility leaving in the clear water, but there's a hell of a lot less. And fertilize and stuff's getting expensive enough. I'd just soon stay on my field as to end up in the Little Miami.
Fair enough.
The biggest compliment is when you first start doing this, the neighbors drive by and they give the about rec because they're looking over their shoulder trying to see what the hell we're doing. and take about 4 or 5 years, and they're doing it themselves. And that's the biggest compliment there is
Absolutely.
to doing what we're doing.
I mean, the biggest, what was it? Imitation? The biggest compliment's imitation there.
So, but you know, I'm not saying we haven't any failures, but you don't learn anything when you do it right. You learn when you fail. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so you can't be afraid to fail.
Speaking of failure, what's been some of the biggest challenges? I mean, failure being part of it.
The biggest challenge is as we're improving the soil health, the organic matter of our soil goes up.
Mm-hmm.
And organic matters have gone. When I started back in '82, our average organic matter soil was some of it was even less than 1%, but most of it was around 1% organic matter. And our soils now are up to 3% organic matter and growing.
Oh.
And as organic matter goes up, the water holding capacity soil goes up. So that becomes a good thing during the dry spells in the summer. But in the springtime, when you're trying to plant, it's not necessarily the best thing because it takes longer for the ground to dry out.
Yeah.
And sometimes the window of opportunity between rains, some spring just not very big.
Mm.
So the big challenge is just getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in the springtime, that's the biggest challenge we have in the soils that we farm, is having the ground dry out in spring so you can be timely getting your crop in without doing too much damage to soil from it being too wet. Okay, our combine and cart now have tracks on them so we can take wet weather in the fall better without cutting ruts and stuff. But that springtime, man, you still got to get the ground dry, or else the sins of spring stay with you all summer. So you want to do it as best you can the first time, so you don't have to do it again.
Right.
You do the right thing for 10 years on the ground, you get the soil tilth built up. It only takes one spring to ruin what you've done for the last 10. It takes 10 years to get back like it was. So that's,
having to stay on it.
big difference from when we started. Crop insurance is a big difference for us now. When we first started, there's no crop insurance, so you had to get it planted. Now you have opportunity. If it really stays too wet, you have an opportunity for prevent plant. So the crop insurance pays you for not planting, and that lets us do a much better job farming.
Okay.
Okay, because
Yeah.
you don't have that pressure of not planting that we used to have. Geez, as a kid, I remember there's 2 springs when we was working ground in the '70s. One spring we finished planting. I say spring, we finished planting on the 16th day of July. And the next year we finished planting on the 21st day of July. Okay, well that's not spring, that's summer, and there's not much growing season left.
Right.
So, but at that time there was no other way to get you had to have a crop, so you planted that late. In the 16th day of July, I think they made 21 bushel, and the next year we planted on the 21st day of July, and they made 16 bushel. I think it was just the opposite, but that was, in 16 bushel to acre today doesn't need to pay for your input costs.
Yeah.
Let alone your rent or anything else, your property tax or anything else that's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, but crop insurance has made a big difference for us in the way we farm. We're not in an area that gets planted timely every year just because, geez.
Just how it is, right?
It's especially, we're farming Illinois glacial till ground, which is soil's 115,000 years old. And it got a hard pan under it. So the water in the springtime, most of it has to evaporate off. There's very little percolation that takes place. Unlike the northern part of the county, which is in the Wisconsin age glacier, so the soil is only 15,000 years old. So the soil has much better internal drainage and drains a lot better. And they have a better opportunity to get planted. Just a difference of where we're at. But a lot of guys come up from up north down to our area, think they're going to make money farming our ground. They farm for a couple of years and they put their tail between their legs and go back north. Just because the nature of the beast we deal with. Our opportunity days in the spring are smaller because our soil stay wetter longer. And somebody up north says, "Why do you have all that equipment?" Because we got to get it done. Has to happen fast.
Fast, yeah.
Okay.
Man, I wouldn't have guessed that. Was especially the difference between just the county side, north and south.
Well, it's the county splits, and it's that way.
Interesting.
You go west of it. Mason had the Wisconsin glacier. It's a newer soil, and the older glacier goes all the way to Fort Ancient.
Mm.
And the lake bed up where on Clarksville Road and Wilmington Road, that's a big old lake bottom. That's from the last glacier. That's where the two soil split. North of there, you're in the newer soil, and south of there, you're in the south and east there, you're in the older soil.
Huh. Interesting.
And we're waiting for the next ice age.
Yeah.
The talk now is climate change. The real climate change is it gets hot in the summer and it gets cold in the winter, and that is climate change.
Mm.
Okay?
Yeah. True.
People have a tendency of giving them too much credit for what they actually influence.
It's scary business.
Okay.
It affects everybody, but not everybody knows much about it, and
so
yeah.
But
what would you say is what significant events occurred over your lifetime that you would say had a great impact on you?
My injury I had in high school changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, I was going to go away to college, big college, changed my life. Reality sets in.
Mm.
Then you realize what you're good at. And that's what you did.
Hell of a reality check, though.
Yeah, my grandfather had a lot of influence on me. Growing up. My dad had a lot of influence on me, especially after he retired from the state in '82, farming together.
Absolutely, yeah.
We got along good, and was able to make it work.
That's important. Not everybody can make family work, especially with business.
Yep, and to the point now I got 3 employees that work full time, and one of my childhood friend's son, and one's a cousin, and one's a brother-in-law. So it's still family.
All right, that's nice.
I have an uncle that's a machinist, and we got machine shop equipment in the shop there, and he comes down and does machine shop work for us and other people that come in. I've never seen him turn a job down. He's got a way to get it done.
All right. Everybody needs somebody like that.
So how much longer he's going to be able to do it, I don't know. He's soon to be 80.
Oh, man.
So
good for him, though. Goodness.
Yeah. He lost his wife there a few years ago.
Yeah.
He walked outside his house, and when he went back in, she's dead.
But she was dealing with dementia, too.
Oh, goodness.
He
Rough business.
He lived up in Wellington. But he's in Florida now. He goes to Florida for a couple months in the wintertime.
Get some fresh, warm air, I suppose.
It hasn't been warm down there. She's starting to warm up for him now.
Mm.
But I talk to him every 2 or 3 days.
But no, we have good landlords that we rent ground from. Really good people. Been renting some of this land for a long time. One farm we rent now it was what Dad started farming, and another farm shortly after that in the 50s we started farming, and we still farm those. Other farms we picked up through the 60s and 70s as time went on.
A lot of farms they started to farm and they're building houses now.
Yeah,
too.
a lot of ground that we farmed is in houses.
Yeah.
5 acres, and subdivisions come in, and there will be more of that as we go on. It's the growth in Harlan Township has been big. Most of the farmland we own is in Little Miami School District, which is one of the biggest, square mile wise, one of the biggest districts in the state. And that, as the growth continues, that district's is gonna face soon a quandary of whether to stay like Mason and keep everything as one school, or do like Lakota did, or Forest Hills did, and split into 2 high schools. And I think their plans are right now to go to 2 high schools, but that's going to be as much buildings going on in Hamilton and Salem and now Harlan Township. They're going to be forced to do that. Likewise, where I live is in Goshen School District, and they have 3 or 4 subdivisions with 200 or 300 homes going in now, and that district is growing tremendously, and there's going to be big pressure in that district too. Although it's not as big square mile wise, I think Goshen will probably stay as one school and just get real big. Whereas where Little Miami has such a big area that they will probably split it up into 2 high schools. So kids right now on the edge of Blanchester, they're on a school bus for a long time every day, and that's really not. That's just kind of wasted time and effort.
Unfair.
If you can split the district up, and that's what's going to happen with Little Miami.
And you have to keep an eye on, hey, where are they going to live?
But that's a lot of the kids up by Blanchester will do open enrollment to Blanchester, just so the kids don't have to ride the bus so far.
Oh. I didn't know that. What would you say are some of your fondest memories?
Fondest memories?
Yeah.
Got a lot of memories. High school memories, farming memories, family memories.
Fishing memories.
Fishing memories, I got a lot of memories that have been good for me. Hardest thing to realize how fast time goes,
Yeah.
Hell, I'm 66 years old now, and I sure don't feel it. I go someplace and see a friend I went to high school with, and God damn, they look old. Then I go home, look in the mirror.
I get it.
I get tired a lot faster. Can't work as long as I used to, but that's just a fact of life. I hope I do it a hell of a lot smarter, but sometimes I wonder about that. Memories of kids being little. That was a fun time. Memories of coaching basketball.
Yeah.
Those are fun memories. Memories of high school memories of playing sports, doing sports, and some of the teachers I had in high school. Some of them are still alive, and some of them aren't. If I see them, I always go talk to them.
Right. Man, being a smaller place too, then everybody knows everybody, and it's kind of nice to see.
That's you grew up in Pleasant Plain. As a kid, you had to behave because your mom and dad knowed everybody.
Yeah.
And they sure as hell weren't afraid to tell on you. Everybody looked after everybody else, and they still do. Although the people in the town have aged, and there's not as many kids as what there used to be. But it's still a nice little village there.
Yeah.
I've been. I think I went on town council. Of course, Pleasant Plains Incorporated, less than 150 people, and I went on town council. I think in 1982 is when I started. So I've been on town council a long time.
What do you do there? Just have meetings?
We govern the village.
You got money coming in, you got to spend.
We got money.
Yeah.
We get our separate pot of money, and that from property tax and stuff, and we pay for street lights, and and other things for the village, the things that need to be done. We got 2 parks in the village, I'm proud of. We maintain the parks. Goshen Schools the village bought the schoolhouse from Goshen Schools.
Hello.
Alrighty, there we go.
What's your next question?
Sure.
Charlie's got a birthday coming up, man.
Yeah, the town was established. That town was laid out in 1852, so we got 175 years coming up in 27. Supposed to have a celebration of the village.
Oh, nice. How long? You said 117?
It'll be 175.
75, goodness. Man. Do you have any stories that your family has passed down that you like to talk about? Up to you guys, up to you guys.
I'll tell you 2 stories. I wasn't there, but I was told 2 stories of my great-grandfather, Rufus Goodwin. Farmed his whole life with mules. The story of an old guy who's dead now.
Mm-hmm.
Told me the story 20 years ago that he was a kid, and they were putting up silage. And my grandpa Rufus was a small, wiry guy, never weighed over 150 pounds his whole life. Mm. Put a chaw of tobacco in, take a whole pack of tobacco and put it in one cheek in the morning, set it out on a fence post and go eat lunch, take the same chaw of tobacco and put the other cheek and leave it there all afternoon, never spit. But the old man told me the story. They was filling silo, and at that time you brought the corn stalks into the hole, and the chopper was at the base of the silo and blowed the silage up into the silo. Mm-hmm. And on the inside of the silo they had pipes that went all the way down, and you had men in there that stomped on it to keep it packed in the silo, and you took those pipe off as you went up. Mm-hmm. And the silo was getting full, and he's up over the edge of the silo. And this kid was in there with my grandfather, and he was getting scared because he's up high off the ground and looking down.
Sure.
And Grandpa Rufus told him, "Go ahead and get down, Charlie." He said, "I'll finish this." And he finished that silo with silage to a perfect point. All the silage he'd get in it to a perfect point. And to prove to this kid that he wasn't scared, he stood on his head on top of the silage, on top of the silo. And that's a story I got of my Grandpa Rufus.
Jeez. Oh, it's too...
He died of a heart attack shoveling snow in 1950. Yeah. And that's... I never got to meet him because I wasn't born until 58. Mm. But that's my... I thought that was a very interesting story of my great-grandfather Rufus.
On his head.
Hope you drove a Model T. He had a Model T when he passed away.
Oh, when he passed away, he did.
He lived in, he sold the farm and moved to Blanchester. Mm. But I thought that was an interesting story.
Yeah. Of
my great grandfather.
Man.
when I was a kid, let's see another interesting story. When I was a kid, I went with my grandfather up to Blanchester to get parts at a Slagle's parts store in Blanchester. My grandfather loved to tell this story. He told it as much as he can, and I probably heard this story probably 1,000 times in my life. But my grandfather loved to tell the story because I was just out of diapers or just about to be out 2 years old. And he wanted to know if I wanted to go with him to Slagle's. I said yes. So he took me to Slagle's. We got to Blanchester. I didn't want to get out of the car. So he paddled my ass, and we went into Slagle's. We got into Slagle's, and he pulled a stool up and said, "Bruce, get up here and sit on the stool." I said, "No, I'm not going to sit on the stool." So he paddled my ass again, and I sat on the stool. And it come time to leave. He said, "Come on, Bruce, we're going to leave." And I said, "No, I'm going to sit on the stool." And he paddled my ass again. And he always loved to tell a story about paddling me 3 times on a trip to Blanchester. And he told that story as often as he could. that anybody that would listen. And I was, I was a young man. He still told that story. But that was, my grandfather loved to tell that one.
Lord. Oh, was he around when you got married and everything? So
Yeah,
he's probably telling that.
He was
story.
there at my marriage.
Telling that story then.
But he told probably everybody at the wedding that same story.
Oh Lord.
Carol cleaned up a lot of messes.
Yeah, we lived next door there when they got up in age, and we took care of them.
Carol.
Well, that's nice. I live near my grandma, and I try to stay there with her too often enough.
He could tell some stories. Up in age, he's living there. He's living next door after Grandma passed away, living there by himself, and he'd have the damnedest dreams. He'd tell me about the dreams he had. He said, "I don't know, Bruce, what the hell's wrong with me, but I had this damnedest dream last night. I got to tell somebody." He told me his dream.
They can be wild.
And that was,
You go to see if he needs help, and he just talks to you about your dreams.
He made a good vegetable soup, and it got to the end there. He'd cut up all the vegetables and cook it, but he always had me come over and season it for him because he couldn't taste it anymore. He said, "You got to season it for me, Bruce." And I knew about what he put in, and that's what we'd season it. Still make vegetable soup.
Would he make it for everybody? Or?
He'd make it for everybody. He had vegetable soup and he made beef stew. Okay? It's the same damn pot of vegetables. Same damn thing. Looked the same. He serves vegetable soup. But you have to ask him where's beef stew or vegetable soup. Because vegetable soup didn't have potatoes. Beef stew did.
Everybody's potatoes? I never would have guessed that would have been the dividing line.
Oh well.
Who was it? Lifted upside down?
Oh, my youngest daughter, Violet, was born in '94, in December '94. 94. And Grandma and Grandpa were still alive, and Carol had somebody come for seed, and we were in the field. So she took Violet over, set Violet on Grandpa's lap. She's just an infant. And she went to take care of the seed. She come back in. Grandpa had Violet holding her up by her feet in his chair, upside down.
Jeez.
And Grandma's sitting in the chair rocking, and she goes, "Sylvan, her face is getting red." And Carol's about ready to have a heart attack. And Grandpa says, "Well, they said this is a way to get rid of the hiccups." Violet had hiccups, and he was hanging her upside down. Carol liked the shit. She ran over and grabbed Violet as fast as she could. She's all right.
Did she have her hiccups still?
I don't think she had her hiccups anymore.
Oh, Lord. What would you say you're most proud of?
Most proud of? I'm proud of the business we got going. Probably proud of my kids for how they have become adults who are not burdens on society.
Yeah.
They're productive members of society. That's what I'm proud of.
Absolutely.
Proud to be able to live with my grandfather and my dad both for over 90 years.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Figuring I won't make it that far. So.
Never know, right?
You never know.
You don't expect it until it happens.
Yep.
What advice would you give anybody listening in?
What would I give for advice? When you're young, listen to the old people. Because they're going to tell you something that's worth listening to.
Yep. Yep.
That's my advice.
Absolutely.
When you're old, don't quit giving them advice, even though they ain't listening to you.
I think that's swell advice, yeah. Anything else you'd like to
Yeah,
add?
if an old person's going to give you advice, they're doing it for a reason.
Yep. They're seeing something going
And it's
on.
worth listening to, even if the advice is in a story.
You have to listen for a minute.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Is there anything more you'd like to add?
Have I said enough? You want to know any more?
I don't have anything else that happens that I don't have anything else in mind at the moment.
Proud I was able to solve the Soil Water District for over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Proud that we got a state president for Morton County.
Yeah.
Proud of Samantha Steiner for doing that.
Absolutely. I mean, hey,
I'm proud that our Soil and Water District has grown and become an integral part of the county government. You know, that's what I'm, you know.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, without them, I wouldn't have been able to reach out to you guys. And Donnie was the ones that told us about. Yeah,
Sure.
reach out to them.
And Donnie's getting ready to retire.
Yeah, just in February.
Yes. He's been a good employee for the district over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Done multiple roles for the district, and any time he's asked to do something, he never says no.
Yeah. So he seems to be very enthusiastic.
Anybody can retire and don't, they're damn fools.
That's my dad's advice. That's what he tells everybody since he retired. So if you can retire and don't retire, you're foolish. You've been retired longer than you worked.
Jeez. That's what I wonder. I don't know what Donnie's going to be doing.
You get a good pension too.
Mm.
That's the thing.
Oh, wow. So what you don't expect. You're like, well, okay, I might need this, but then, yeah.
And I get Social Security too with mine.
Good.
Yeah, when Dad's mother there, that latter years, we got them, Dad on salary enough that they get, both of them get Social Security. Dad's making more money than they ever had in their life.
How about that? It's pretty good.
When we did the partnership, he started had to pay income tax, and he didn't like that. He had to pay it for so many quarters, and he started getting Social Security, and then it wasn't so bad.
Well, I'm starting to yawn too. I've seen everybody else yawn around here, so thank you guys so much. And if there's nothing
Is that
else,
good enough?
Oh man, that's plenty. I think we have about hour 42 minutes for you guys.
Okay, good enough.
Thank you so much. And if you want to reach out to me again and add anything else, let me know. And
you got my phone number.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for letting me talk to you. All right. This will conclude the oral history.